Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. That's Proverbs chapter 31, verse 9. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. This isn't just some nice suggestion. It is a powerful, timeless mandate. And for all you 8th graders tuning in right now, this quote is the absolute bedrock of what we're covering today. See, we aren't just memorizing history facts, we're actually digging into a moral framework for life. How do we treat people? What's our move when we spot something totally unfair? This single verse kind of hits the nail on the head, and it perfectly sets the stage for today's masterclass in leadership. So welcome to today's explainer, everyone. I am so pumped you're here because today we are focusing on the true pioneers of justice. We're going to look at some absolutely remarkable leaders who shaped our constitutional republic by staring down broken, unfair systems and deciding to fight them head-on. These are people who didn't just sit on the sidelines, they jumped right into the arena. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with the call for justice, then look at Frederick Douglass as a voice for freedom and Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony's fight for equality. In part 4, we'll uncover the power of persistence and then wrap the whole thing up with morality, education, and you. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the call for justice. Okay, so the big idea here is that social reform leaders work to change unfair systems, right? But the absolute key word there is work. They don't just sit around their living rooms complaining about how bad things are. They actually take tangible steps to end injustice. True social reform means taking real action. And honestly, it completely redefines what it means to be a leader. You know, a lot of times we think of leaders as just the most popular people in the room. But true leadership, it often means standing completely alone at first. It means having the guts to speak the truth when it is deeply, deeply unpopular and pushing forward even when the obstacles seem impossible. Doing the right thing is tough, especially when society is actively pushing back against you. But as you'll see today, this specific kind of gritty leadership is exactly what shapes nations for generations.
Moving on to part 2, Douglass, Voice for Freedom.
Let's look at Frederick Douglass. He is a profound example of putting that moral mandate into real-world action. But before we get too deep, I want you to put on your critical thinking caps for a second. What was Douglass's main cause? Take a guess. Think about what you might already know about America in the mid-1800s and the gravest injustice going on at that time. If you guessed the abolition of slavery, you are spot on. First off, he personally escaped the literal horrors of slavery. But here's the thing, he didn't just secure his own freedom and then quietly disappear. No way. Second, he authored this deeply revealing autobiography. He actually used his own horrific personal experiences to expose the brutal, ugly realities of slavery to the entire world. And third, he became one of the most powerful abolitionist speakers and writers of his era, using his voice to convince countless others to join the fight. He literally turned his own personal pain into a weapon against a completely unjust system. Which brings us to part 3, Stanton, Anthony, and equality. Now, let's shift gears to another monumental battle for justice in the constitutional republic, the powerful partnership that really ignited the women's rights movement. Here's another quick question to test your historical detective skills. In 1848, there was this landmark event called the Seneca Falls Convention. What exactly were they demanding? So the crucial takeaway is right here. The convention, which Elizabeth Cady Stanton helped put together, issued what they called the Declaration of Sentiments. Basically, this was an incredibly bold statement demanding absolute equality for women. And specifically, it demanded the right to vote, what we refer to as women's suffrage. Back in 1848, that was considered a wildly radical idea. It's the perfect example of speaking that unpopular truth we were just talking about. But Elizabeth Cady Stanton definitely didn't do this all by herself. She formed what became one of the most famous partnerships in American history with Susan B. Anthony. But how did they actually work together? What made their teamwork such a game changer? It was honestly like a giant puzzle, and they were the perfect pieces. You had Stanton on one side bringing the vision and the organization. She was this brilliant thinker who stayed back, helped organize the national movement, and drafted all the heavy-hitting arguments. Then, on the other side, you have Anthony, who took all that vision and hit the road, engaging in a relentless, nationwide campaign. Stanton's behind-the-scenes organization perfectly matched Anthony's boots-on-the-ground hustle. They were just an unstoppable duo, working together to tear down an unfair system. All right, part 4, the power of persistence. This brings us to what is probably the most crucial overarching lesson we can learn from Douglass, Stanton, and Anthony. Ask yourself, Why is persistence so absolutely crucial in reform movements? When the whole world is basically yelling at you to stop, why not just throw in the towel? Well, the truth about social reform is that real change requires a generational vision. These leaders faced intense, bitter opposition, and not just for a few bad weeks, but over decades. Susan B. Anthony's sheer persistence, for example, kept the cause alive for people who weren't even born yet. And this last point, it's just incredibly powerful to me. Neither Stanton nor Anthony actually lived to see the 19th Amendment passed in 1920, which is what finally secured women the right to vote nationwide. Think about that. They fought their entire lives. They laid the foundation, and they never even got to see the final victory. That is exactly why giving up is never an option. You might literally be building the foundation for a victory you won't get to see yourself.
So I want to toss this question straight to you. Name one modern issue where this kind of persistence is still needed. History isn't just something trapped in a textbook from the 1800s. It's happening right outside our doors today. What unfair systems are out there right now that required that exact same courage, that willingness to stand alone and speak those unpopular truths? Really think about that.
Let's wrap this all up with part 5, morality, education, and you. We've talked a lot about history, but now we're going to connect these historical truths directly to you, right now, using our core HeroesMart Academy philosophy. I want you to literally burn this sentence into your memory. Education without morality will hurt. Seriously, what is the point of being incredibly smart, getting straight A's, and being super educated if you just keep making terrible choices that end up hurting yourself and the people around you? Every single leader we looked at today didn't just have a bright mind. They had an unshakable moral compass. They figured out what was right, and then they acted on it. So, from the HeroesMart Academy Godly Learners series, here is the ultimate formula for a successful life. Step 1 is getting true education, really understanding the world and how it works. But step 2 is the magic ingredient, intertwining that learning with biblical morality. When you combine those two things together, it directly leads to step 3, peace of mind. And guys, this isn't just a nice sounding idea, it is a literal promise. Romans chapter 8, verses 6 and 7 actually promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. When you engage with true moral education, when you align your smarts with actually doing what is right, the end result is this lasting, deep internal peace. It's our experience, and it is the experience of anyone who truly engages with this path. So, 8th graders, as we reach the end of this explainer, I'm going to leave you with one final, huge question. Will you combine your education with morality to become the next pioneer of justice? Because our constitutional republic desperately needs leaders who will speak up, judge fairly, and defend the vulnerable. You've got the education, and you've got the moral framework. The rest? Well, the rest is completely up to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning, keep growing, and I absolutely cannot wait to see the incredible impact you're going to make on this world.